I do want a moment of silence, though, for a man who couldn't be with us at this exciting moment, who had been to the mountaintop and saw what would happen if we had a new administration in Washington and a new purpose, but he won't be there at the inaugural with us. Elliot Spitzer. That's important. That's real important. Because the timing of Elliot Spitzer's getting nailed, and I meant by the cops, is no coincidence. Let me talk, where are we heading today? We're told that the subprime mortgage market implosion is behind the problems we have. You know, Louis down the street can't make his mortgage payment because his wife got sick, and Iceland melts, right? So, and how did this happen? Well, we're told by NPR, no less, National Petroleum Radio, I just heard it, that they're greedy borrowers. People are greedy. Why should we be bailing out mortgage holders who, just greedy? They were borrowing more than they can afford. They went in over there, and why should we bail them out? Excuse me, anthrax. Oh, that's so 2001. Greedy borrowers, why should we bail them out? So I went to meet one of these greedsters. I flew for BBC television to the 8 Mile neighborhood of Detroit and met with Robert Pratt in 8 Mile. Guy went to his house, wife, 5 kids. He used to have 6, but the neighborhood's kind of gotten a little rough since half the homes there are foreclosed. And his 12-year-old son was shot dead in the backyard by a stray bullet. He's about to lose his house too. He's facing foreclosure. I saw the foreclosure notes from Countrywide Financial on his table. That's Bank of America for those of you still have your money with the sharks. So I said, "So Robert, come on, Mr. Greed. Didn't you get in over your head?" No. He works he's a union worker working at a casino who works 7 days a week. Okay? He wants to pay his bills. But here's how it works. Okay? You got a 4% $955 a month mortgage, 25% of your income. Works out fine. But then there's what's called an explosion clause in it. That's what the subprime is, right? And after 2 years or 4 years, it goes up, and went from 4% in this case to 9%, while interest rates are declining. He was told, "Don't worry about it, we'll refinance it." And then the musical chairs stop, and suddenly the $955 payment becomes $1,609. In the meantime, they've added, it wasn't really 4%, it was 7%. They took the extra 3% and they tacked it on to the value of his mortgage. So now his mortgage is over $100,000 in a house that's worth, because he's surrounded by foreclosed houses, he said, "I think if I'm lucky I can get $40,000. Now, how did this happen? Okay. Well, you said, wait, someone said there was criminals. Excuse me, how dare you call Anthony Mazzillo a criminal? Anthony Mazzillo, he's a criminal. He was paid $77 million this year by Bank of America's Countrywide unit. And that adds to his salary the previous 9 years of $656 million. $656 million. Over half of it. Now, how did Pratt get this subprime? What's wrong with Robert Pratt? He has a steady union job. Well, I could show you the clip from BBC and you'd find out that he's Obama colored. Right? And here's something interesting that a guy named Elliot Spitzer discovered, that 73% of high-income African Americans are steered to subprime mortgages, whereas only 17% of white mortgage holders are steered to subprime mortgages. Okay. It's an apartheid financial system. But pretty soon, one thing, we're all subprime now. We're all subprime now. And what Elliot Spitzer said is, this is a crime. He was known as the Sheriff of Wall Street. On Valentine's Day, Valentine's Eve, he had written a piece and was about to testify and launch a campaign on behalf of all 50 law enforcement agencies in all 50 states and the attorney generals that he was going to go after the criminal activities of predatory mortgage lenders, including countrywide. Unfortunately, that night, he ordered takeout. I kid you not, it was the next day that he was opening up the campaign to bust these guys. And they busted him. Don't kid yourself about how it works. Okay? That's how it works. Now, last Friday, our president-to-be borrowed his old columns and made up that seal. That was cool, with the blue background, and marched in all the people to help us feel better, that it's going to get better. So he's bringing in the wise heads because Mr. Bush is kind of... I'm sorry, he was drunk yesterday. Did you see the press conference on CNN? Okay, seriously, he was stoned. He was shit-faced. I don't care. I'm saying it. Someone's got to say it. Actually, I'm kind of happy for him because for 8 years, every time I saw him at a press conference, he always had that look on his face like, no matter what he was saying, the subtext, Mr. President, the President of Georgia, he always had a look on his face like, damn, I need a drink. Get that man out of here. Okay. So Obama brings in his crew and they all march out, Paul Volcker and Larry Summers and all these characters. To me, it was like frightening. I go, wait, is this the change we were waiting for? Or it looks like they opened the crypt from the Clinton, Night of the Living Financiers. It's like, okay, all right, it's supposed to make me feel better. All right. I hope it makes Robert Pratt and his family feel better, but okay. And they were there, Paul Volcker, Larry Summers, and Penny Pritzker. Penny Pritzker? Penny Pritzker? This is all these financial heavyweights. Penny Pritzker. What was she doing there? Well, she was listed as Hyatt senior residences, like nursing homes. Okay. There's this big lineup behind Obama. Well, Penny Pritzker was the kind of chairwoman of Superior Bank of Chicago for Obama's district. She's worth $2.7 billion. Now, maybe was Barack looking for a loan from her to help us out. Actually, it would have been over $3 billion, except that she had to pay the U.S. government as restitution $460 million, nearly $500 million, she and her family, for restitution for their predatory mortgage lending practices. Penny Pritzker is an inventor and the inventrix of the subprime loan market. So what is she doing there? I thought, man, he's going to bust her right there on TV. Read her rights. He's like, spread them, Penny. I said, is that cool? It's like he's like he's going to bring in Spitzer. Come on, Elliot. You're out of the penalty box. Read her rights. No. She was head of the Obama Finance Committee, his chief treasurer and fundraiser. By the way, I want to thank, could you please stand up to, and I want you to honor the investigator who busted the Penny Pritzker story. Dennis Bernstein, please stand up. Dennis? Where's Dennis? He was just here. There he is. There he is. Dennis Bernstein of KPFA. If you don't listen to flashpoints on KPFA, I'm not talking to you anymore. Thank you, Dennis. Read his entire investigation of this matter. We cannot close our eyes. Okay? I'm sorry. Now, Obama did say, because she was barred by law from having anything to do with a bank anymore, you know. So then he said the subprime mortgage went bad. See, when she was in, it was okay. It went bad. That's like saying loan sharking when it used to be good, right? When did it go bad? Okay. Let's look back at that crowd there. So there they were, all the guys that are supposed to make us feel happy. There was Larry Summers. I'm just going to go another 5-10. That's it. Larry Summers, who was Secretary of Treasury Robert Rubin. Now, our president-elect correctly says that the problem here is deregulation of the finance industry. He's right. In fact, the deregulation of the banks occurred, the chief date was November 12th, 1999, and George Bush said, well, wait, that's the Clinton administration. When they eliminated the Glass-Steagall Act, which said that banks where you put your money, commercial banks, which are regulated and insured, can't have anything to do with so-called banks like hedge funds and investment banks, which are basically casinos, right? But it ended the kind of casino bank division by eliminating that wall. And that particularly benefited Citibank, which wanted to merge in violation of Glass-Steagall, so they removed the law with Travelers Insurance, which had investment banking operations. And within days of the elimination of Glass-Steagall, promoted by Robert Rubin, Secretary Rubin, he became the director of Citibank and then its chairman. At the same time, he and Alan Greenspan called for the elimination of regulation of something called the derivatives market. Remember I told you about Iceland melting? They got mortgaged, subprime mortgage derivatives. It was Robert Rubin, Alan Greenspan, and Larry Summers, who was standing there behind Obama, who said, do not regulate these things. And they barred by law the Commodities Futures Trading Commission from regulating them. And then at the same, but you know, I don't want to now I know George was right on top of this. He corrected it. So the casino companies went to the Bush administration and said, you know, we can only leverage 12 to 1. We can only, that's massive amount of gambling. We want to change it to 30 to 1. That won't endanger the financial system because we're going to regulate ourselves. And Bush issued a treasury saying the banks are going to regulate themselves. So we're going to let them leverage from 12 to 1, which is only astonishing and dubious and dangerous, and make it 30 to 1. No problem. Want some land in Iceland? It's cheap. So that's what happened. There is no reason for subprime mortgages in America. In fact, my wife is head of a community bank. Most of the people are low income. Almost everyone is a low income borrower. She's never issued a subprime mortgage in her career. She says human beings are not subprime. Never. Gotta end. But we do want to thank John McCain for dealing with the crisis because, when he said, we are in a deep financial crisis, what I need to do is suspend my campaign. Bless him for doing that. He didn't even maintain the suspension all the way through November 4th. Is that patriotic or what? What about Robert Pratt? Okay. There was a plan. Instead of $700 billion for the sharks and Paulson's operators, there was a plan for $300 billion for mortgage holders like Pratt. And McCain suggested it. He got it from Hillary Clinton, and she got it from Franklin Roosevelt. Now, the Obama campaign said, well, that would enrich the predators. Let's not mention that of the 700 billion, 25 billion went to Countrywide and Mozilla and Bank of America. Okay. Now, so now what? What about Robert Pratt and his 5 remaining children and his wife in that house in 8 Mile? Okay. Our president-elect, Mr. Obama, says that Mr. Pratt should live in hope. I think he should live in a house. And Mr. President, will be watching. Thank you.